Hi guys and welcome back to the channel and welcome to yet another episode reaction for the Summer Hikaru Died. Today we're checking out the penultimate episode of season 1, episode number 11. I am in absolute disbelief that we're already here. We're already at the second to last episode. And before we check out this episode, I do have something that I realized during the edit of episode number 9, I believe, that it's funny because I realized it during the edit of episode 9 because I'd already seen episode 10. So I've been trying to get ahead of myself. So, I wasn't able to talk about it last episode. But because I'd already seen 10 while editing 9, I put a little editor's note for anyone that was watching the episode reaction itself. And within that episode 9 reaction, whenever Old Man Takeda is transmorphing into this other being, I mentioned in an editor's note that the way the hair looks and the transformation and everything looks very much like the head that the Indo family member, ancestor, whatever it is from way back when, probably during the 1700s, who knows when it actually was, but probably during the 1700s, was carrying in their arms. It looked very similar. And so there's a few different trains of thoughts that I've got. And one of them is that it's the monk who was killed, and he is not happy. But then at the same time, I thought the monk was this long, like stringy necked figure as well. So yeah, I don't really know, but whoever it is, it seems like they've got some sort of vengeance. They've got something that they want to take out on this town, this village and everything. But maybe it isn't the monk at all. Maybe it is this Noniki or Uniki who is just pissed that they would kill someone, a monk traveling through the region for no reason. But regardless, I do think that monk is related to all of this, and the figure that was being held, they are a vengeful spirit perhaps who wants to take it out on everything, and it's not related to Hikaru at all in the slightest. I don't think, well, it's probably related to Hikaru, whatever is within Hikaru anyway, but I don't think it's Hikaru that's doing this, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're going to get some answers. That just really surprised me, and I'm glad I finally get to mention it, that I've observed it. I don't really have too many ideas that I can kind of go off in tangents that will answer those questions that I have through speaking myself. So I'm just going to have to wait for more clues, more hints, and more answers from the series itself. But yeah, we're just going to check this one out. I'm very excited to check out the penultimate episode for the Summer Hikaru Dies. Yeah, this has been an incredible series so far. I have absolutely no doubts that these last two episodes will deliver on those same fronts. And yeah, let's see what Papa Yoshiki has to say to us when we check this one out. And if you guys do enjoy these videos, please leave a like and subscribe if you have not done so already. And comment down below letting me know any of your favorite Halloween movies or series that you associate with Halloween and or watch every Halloween or something like that, or Halloween media in general. Doesn't have to be the movie Halloween, but like movies or series or anything at all, even songs, albums, whatever that you associate with Halloween. Let me know, I'd love to hear it. And of course, share this with a friend if you think they might enjoy, and hit that bell down below so that you will be notified when videos like this one do go live. And yeah, we're just going to check this one out. Let's see what we get today in the Summer Hikaru Died, episode number 11. Let's go. Oh, the door. Is this Yoshiki approaching Papa? Must be. Shit, years. I can't tell if he's smiling or not there. It was almost like he had a half smirk on his face. And there's the same photo he has in his room. Oh, this is where he was. This was his father's room that he was sitting at before. That's crazy. Oh, the Summer Hikaru Died. What comes next? What's coming our way in episode 11? Godzilla vs. Ultraman. Indo Sin, episode 11. Want to read this together? The Farmer's Head? Kubitachi Folktale? Oh? He's more interested in cool things. Ultron Man. Aww.
俺もさ、
Bro, tell me you're signaling the future without telling me you're signaling the future.
最近学校はどうなんや。
別に
Damn. They're not even looking at each other. They're looking opposite directions, 180 degrees from one another.
ヒカルのお父やんのことを聞きたんやけど、インド家って大昔何したん？罪って何なん？
Yep, you're gonna know.
誰から聞いた？
調べた。
俺と公平で自分らの息子にまで背負わせたないと話し合っとったんやけどな。
That's really sad.
やから俺は早ゆきねと結婚したい。
Wow, look at them. Oh my god, it's the
大事な
buns.
人とは早う結婚して家に入れろって言われとんねん。俺がゆきねを守らなあかん。ああ、昔インドの若当主の奥さんが疫病で倒れてお首様になってな。
Oh shit, became the head.
その時のことが由来やねん。
Became one of the
若当主は
the
山入って
headless.
妻の首を捧げたんやけど、何をお願いしたと思う？ 妻を
That's
生き返らして
it.
や。イン
Oh
ド家以外の首ならどれでも持って行ってええから。
shit.
干したらな、見事生き返っ
That's
た。
crazy.
なわけ。
その
That
代わり
explains what we saw a couple episodes ago.
村の3分の1が開始した。
Jeez.
首吊り、
We've seen all these images in brief flashes.
馬に頭を踏ませるとか、振り
Jeez.
返ったら首がないとかもあったって。
That's crazy.
そう、もちろんインド家は死者ゼロ。ただ、生き返った妻だけは生首のままやったから。
Wow.
苦しんで、その日の夜には死んだんや。干したら開始も止まって、不作や疫病も減ったっちゅう話。まあ、俺の先祖も運悪いわ。それまではいくら首を捧げたところで、特に何も起こらんかったらしいから。
Hmm.
どこまで本当なん？
そう。
That is
で
wild.
も、その妻の首はまだ残っとるで。
What?
インドヒチさん言うねん。
Heichi,
世
duh.
の中に置いてあるで。
Oh, yeah. Duh. Wow, I don't know why I didn't piece that together myself.
やからインド家の男はだいたい5年おきにヒチさんを持ってあの山に
Every 5 years.
謝って神様に山は出てこやんように頼む。
Shit.
公平は死ぬ前儀式を自分の代で終わりにしたいと上役と揉めとった。
Wouldn't that have been
猪木
nice?
様はみんなの思うようなもんやない。儀式は無意味やと。その矢先に事故死や。
An accident. Did they kill him?
事故やったんかな。
They killed him because he argued against it? Oh, that's brutal.
ヒカルのお
Who
父
would
が
it
死んだ時
have been though that killed
どう
him?
やった？
I'm sure he was sad.
この村にええところが一つものうなったと。
Oh, yeah. Where have you...
見てて嫌になる。
Yep. So alike. That's what I was going to say.
全
It's...
然似とらんからな。母さんの強さとか
Oh.
優しいところを持っとるから父さんより立派な人間になるよ。
それ、母さんに言うてや。
Have a nice conversation without arguing.
喋らんの？
怖いんや。母さん強いから。そのうちこの家に居場所がなくなりそうで。
That's why you flee?
場
Pathetic.
所ってそんなに大事なの？
Oh.
とは
The context for why he's asking
自分に
that.
癒しくなる。満足に食えんかったやつは食に癒しく。愛に飢えたやつは過度に愛されたがる。
Wow.
居場所に執着するやつは居場所がなかったんやろな。
Wow, that's really poignant.
母さんともちゃんと話さんとな。
うん。なあ、父さん。本いっぱい持っとるよな。
ああ、好きに読んでええよ。
ありがとう。
Ah.
子供にはすぐいい顔すんの。
Wow, they really don't like... Well, she really doesn't... I don't know if she doesn't like him or not, actually. They just got problems. Who knows? Oh, shit. The face of Yoshiki taking the place of one of them.
取り込み中？
いや、晩飯。
Oh, is that your
今日
mother?
麻婆豆腐やに。
Mapo
あんたは好きで
tofu?
しょ？
この辺りは昔から疫病が多かったってのは
Yeah.
土地の資料にも書いてあ
That's
った。それが大量死を境に落ち着いたと。つまり
That's true.
多かった汚れが減ったってことや。やけどそもそも光る能抜き様がおれば村に悪いことは起こらんはずやろ。大量死の前、それまで能抜き様は何しとった？ヒチさんの時より前は願い事は叶わんかった。
Oh god, yeah, is that a request? His verbiage.
叶える神様
In exchange for a head.
イチさんがなんか特別やったんか。そもそもなんでこの土地には汚れが多いんや。それがわからんと結局。
よしき、俺山帰るわ。
それだけはあかん。そんなんごめんや。
Not today. Raffanelli art book. What are you gonna see? What are you gonna find here? Oh! A sketch of Gehenna?
地獄のスケッチ
Gehenna?
1519
1519. So you're talking about Era's company guy. I think we know where to start now. We need to look at this Gehenna thing.
なんで合唱コン休んだんやろね。
Yeah.
そらやけど。わからん。
Did you never ask?
君はちゃんと学校来とるし大丈夫ちゃうかな。
インド家の祖先は自分のエゴで大量死を引き起こしたんや。それがインド家の罪。
よしきの音やに聞いてくれたんやな。
He did. They were best friends, which makes everything that happened so sad. Because it's like
あの
the
さ、
same here. Oh, I didn't get to read that.
Hikaru
Chicken
ってどんなやつ
tasting something?
どんなやつやったって今更やな。
いやなんか俺んせいでヒカルの体に傷がついて嫌やろなって。
お前が弱っとるんは半分になったせい。
Absolutely.
そうなんかもな。
やったらこれ返す。そしたらお前もう言いたい思いせんやろ。
Oh.
戻したところで元に戻るかわからんよ。なんなら永遠に失われてしまうかも。それにさ、それ戻したら元ヨシキに刺されるかもしれやんや。
刺さんよ。
There's a shared understanding now.
ヒカルは
He's not trying to treat you like Hikaru. He's
お前
trying.
主
He's.
人公みたいなやつ。
Aww.
足が速い。勉強は苦手。
He sucked at
誰にで
schoolwork.
も簡単に話しかける。敬語が使えやんから先輩との折り合いが悪い。
Nah, so he didn't have
で
to.
も後輩には好かれとった。ヒカルを好きな女子がおるって噂が何回か流れた。
Naturally.
ヒカルはその度いつ告られるかとそわそわしてたけど、大体みんな別のやつとつ
That's crazy. Look at the tears in his
前
eyes.
は B 組の斎藤さんが気になってた。
Aww. The way they're playing Shadow of Our Days in the
飯
background.
は食えりゃ何でもよくて適当。いつも強い。俺みたいに悩まんし、ヒカルは泣かへん。
The love that he had for Hikaru.
本当は泣きたかったんやろうか。
会いたいヒカルに。
Of course he misses him.
会いたいよ。
Yeah.
そら、そうよな。
The beast pondered for a bit.
お前、ヒチさんの
That's
時の
so
こと
sad
覚
just
えてん
hearing
の
the way he described him in such great detail. And the beautiful soundtrack playing in the background.
ここに降りたんやろ。
考えとるよ。
What's wrong?
首痛いんか。
Is he losing control again? He's glitching? He's losing control more often now. The hell was that? He has no, like, self-control anymore after all of this. There's too much leakage. Oh my god. Oh no. Gana, get back. Oh shit, what's it gonna take here? Asuko? Oh, he can't lead him to anyone else. He has to deal with it himself. Oh shit. He's gonna feel your soul. It's so warm and inviting. Oh my god. This is horrifying. Jeez.
あれなんか全然気持ち悪い感覚がない。そうか。もう
Ah, shit, yeah.
ヒカル。
Is it reminding you of when you reach inside and you said it felt nice?
あれ
Jeez.
な、
Oh no, Asuko saw. Oh no. Oh, everything's bad, but like, oh my god. Yeah, you tried again. Something's wrong. Something's not right. You're not. Well, there's something inside of you. Oh, and the way he's trying to reassure. But it's the fact he can't tell when this is going to happen. It just happens. You've been coming to terms with the fact that it's not Hikaru. Like, the past few episodes have been very eye-opening for you. But yes, you've become accepting of this fake Haru. And we just need to figure out more about it. Lost in thought. I'm sure she saw everything. Damn, look at that. He needs help. Okay. Makes sense. Don't want to think about it. Like, so many things have been mixing with his soul. But you can sense souls. Humans are complicated creatures, you're right. For something that sees the world in such black and white, you can't see the grey and the intricacies. Yeah, you don't. You can be yourself. He's accepting of you. I don't think it's that you can't control yourself. Yeah, it's... It's this sense of being and sense of purpose that just gets lost sometimes. I think it's really nice that Hikaru's having a relationship with Rie now too. That's not happening. Yoshiki would not like that. Oh, the way he's actually doing what, you know, Yoshiki saw in that fake future, but you can see it's so different. Oh, he's found a home. Shit. If he yank it out of his soul, then he's dead. I don't think he should. I don't think he should. No. I think it's the right call. She's seeing how complicated this whole thing is. It's like a newborn baby. Does she see her son? Hirori Kurebiyashi. Is it going to be Yoshiki? Company girl? She has a daughter too, right? Rie? Oh, you don't? I don't think it was. Is this you coming to say goodbye? The shadow growing. Oh, okay. Aww. Hear that? Welcome home. That was such a beautiful way to end that episode, you know, with the welcoming of home. We associate, obviously, him saying his home is with Yoshiki, but, you know, it's nice to remember that other people feel so strongly about him too. Like, obviously, his mother. It's all his mother has after losing her husband. That was a really deep and thought-provoking episode. That was intense. That was very intense. What do I think is going to come in the next episode? I think they're going to go to the beach like we see in this ending. And that was episode number 11 of The Summer Hikaru Died. This was a really, really great eye-opening episode that gave us answers that we have been looking for. We know about the Indo family sin. We know about so much now that previously was just unknown. And I feel like what makes this so great, these reveals, is that we have been kind of drip fed this information throughout. Some of it, like a lot of it, came in the previous episode or two, so it's not like it was a slow drip or anything, but we were given these little pieces of information bit by bit by bit, just for this reveal of like the grander answer, like more in depth, and giving us the answer to like questions that we didn't quite have all the answers to, makes this feel more rewarding, and it makes this feel so fulfilling. So yeah, the episode starts anyway with the reveal that we are going to have this conversation. We are going to speak with the father figure, the literal father of Yoshiki. Yoshiki, who reveals before he knocks the door, says, while thinking to himself, that he has not had a conversation like this with his father in years. That's insane. And so that's kind of where it leaves off then. He opens the door and he goes into his father's room, and we see then that this is the same room that Yoshiki was sat at, the same room that he was sitting when he was kind of coming up with the plan for like a suicide, murder-suicide, I guess, with Hikaru. So yeah, I don't know if he went to his father's room just for some comfort, some clarity, or some alone time because he knew he would be alone in there. I guess maybe in going in there it helps him feel a bit closer to his father perhaps. And then he did also look at the photograph, which has them all together happy. But then the episode begins and we're told that the name of this episode is the Indo family sin. While we're hearing about this, we're learning about this, we are seeing a scene where Yoshiki's father is approaching him and asking if they want to read a book together. And Yoshiki is very, very young in this scene, and he's playing with an Ultraman toy and a Godzilla toy. And we do learn, even from this young age, that Yoshiki talks about enjoying the monsters more, wishing the monsters would win more, and all of this stuff. Like he's starting to sound like one of those typical villains in an anime series or like just comic book series or something like that, that just wants the villains to win. And I think I've got a name, or I've got something floating around my head. I feel like there's something like that I've witnessed in recent times, but I can't quite pull that to the front of my brain to remember what that is. Very, very telling and very interesting that this is being told to us with the idea that this is kind of foretelling something from here and now to the future that we know. And this book is called The Farmer's Head. I don't know really anything about this book, but we're told that it tells a story of like folklore within Kubitachi, and I wonder then if this is the same book that we see later in the episode when the boys are sitting at a table. I wonder if this is the same book. And obviously we see a little later on as well that Yoshiki is looking through his father's books and stuff, and I wonder if he pulled this one out. I will need to actually pay attention and go through those scenes again to see if he did pull it out, because he might remember his father saying that this tells the story of Kubitachi folklore. And in Foreshadowing 101, young Yoshiki says that he's going to become a monster researcher when he's older, and he wishes all monsters and humans would sign a peace treaty. And yeah, he just talks about these monsters a lot. What's he doing now? He's researching these monsters, and this is exactly why he comes to his father, because he's trying to do some research on this monster that is Hikaru. And he does learn a little piece of information a little later on, outside of this conversation with his father, in relation to maybe the name of this monster, or what it is, or the stuff within it, whatever happens to be. But anyway, within this conversation, they're having really awkward small talk. They're both looking away from each other entirely. Yoshiki is standing with his back against the window, looking towards like us, the viewer, not literally at us, but in our direction. We can see his face, and his father is turned the other way, looking out with the door open. So they're not even technically in the same room here. They're just so distant from one another, and you see lines being set up, which is something that we have seen very, very often within the series. These lines that are being set up, and sometimes eventually a character will cross that line. And the great thing about these lines is they do a great job at showing distance and spacing between characters, because having something between them tells you a story. So cutting away from the small talk, Yoshiki says, I actually want to talk about Hikaru's father. Like, he's just kind of outward and vocal about that. He just says it pretty quickly. And this is when we kind of get a glimpse into the fact that Yoshiki's father and Hikaru's father wanted to protect their sons and did not want to involve them in any of this stuff in relation to the town. And that explains, of course, then why Yoshiki is so out of the loop and so unknowing of all this stuff. It was a conscious choice to remove any of this information from his life and not talk about it to him or involve him in any of this stuff. And with Hikaru, I feel like the reason he was told is because of the circumstances of his family. His father probably didn't want to tell him, but I feel like it was probably the case of he had to, because he didn't know if he had time, and so he had to pass on this information to his son. So then this is when Yoshiki's father recalls a conversation he had with Hikaru's father, and you can see that they are very close friends. They're sitting here talking very similarly to how Yoshiki and Hikaru would, and it's just such a nice sight to see that they had each other. Like, they were basically Yoshiki and Hikaru for one another back when they were young, and that makes it even sadder then that his best friend Kohei, Hikaru's father, is no longer with us, because I'm sure that had a huge toll on him. That had a big weight on him and his life. So then this is when Hikaru's father starts to share the information about the Indo family sin and how this is all related to them, their family within this town. And so this is then when we get some really important information, and that important information is in relation to the Indo family member we have seen in like flashes, with Yoshiki seeing someone holding a head. That was actually an Indo member whose wife grew ill and died, I think it was said. I can't remember. And so she was offered up as a sacrifice, one of the okubi, I think it was called. And that's then when the Indo family member went up to the mountain and made a request of Nanaki. And this is where everything goes to shit. Once you make a request, things go pretty bad. Alright, sorry, I know that I'm in the middle of a post-episode analysis, but I just have to let you guys know that I'm kind of realized that it's really late, and I need to wrap this one up sooner rather than later. I really hate doing this, but I'm not going to end it right here, but I am just letting you guys know that if this isn't as long of a post-episode analysis as I usually do, these episodes are normally like an hour long or so. It's simply because of that. I am under a very, very tight schedule right now. I don't have the free time, sadly, that I wish I had for this series. And yeah, I gotta just get through this one. So I do deeply apologize. I hate having to do this, but sadly, that is the case. So we're gonna just kind of go through this one at a bit of a quicker pace. So the scene with the Indo family secret. The Indo family secret is that a long time ago, the head of the Indo family's wife died, and he went up to the mountain to offer the head as a sacrifice. But when he got up there, he asked for his wife to be returned from the dead. He wanted her back, and so his wife was returned, but it was just a living head, is how it's described. But because of this request, the head of the Indo family was like, you can kill anyone you want, you can do whatever you want, so long as it isn't my family. So he essentially made a pact with this thing that the Nanaki, Unaki, whatever it is, the god that was offered this sacrifice, wasn't even a sacrifice, it was the sacrifice of many of others within this village. That was so that his wife could be brought back to life. And the sick and twisted thing about it is that it was all in the span of one day. Within the span of one day, a third of the people in this town, this village, died in some form or another, like to do with heads. Heads were cut, necks were cut off, heads were trampled in, just all this awful shit done to heads, which, it's really interesting because I know I've talked a lot about Hereditary on this channel in relation to this series already, but the removal of heads is also very important within that movie, and I can't help but feel like there's some similarity in reasoning perhaps from that, and that's something that, you know, I don't want to spoil the movie or this, and you know I kind of already am, but you know, I feel like what we saw when Hikaru's head was chopped off and all this shit coming out of it, I feel like that's kind of comparable to Hereditary and what the removal of a head in that movie means. So yeah, all these people were killed in the span of a day, and then because his wife was returned in the form of just a talking head, basically, she died too that same day. It was sick and twisted. It was terrible. It's just an ironic cruelty to have offered up all of these people and in turn not even receive that which you're wishing for. Like it's very much like a monkey paw-esque. I feel like you make a wish or a request in the as is the case in this series, and that wish or that request isn't exactly what you were hoping for. There's always some sort of lesson to be learned through the story of this sacrifice or this wish. It never turns out how you would hope. And once the head of the wife, you know, died, passed away, the return of everything normal came about. No diseases, no deaths, nothing weird, anything like that. So I don't know if this is telling us that the famines and deaths were happening, and that's kind of something I feel like Yoshiki theorizes, because this stuff was happening before this Indo family sin, but the fact then that he also offered up all these people, it kind of welcomed this being, this entity, to go down to the village and kill just as many as it wanted, take the heads of as many as it wanted, and in doing so, maybe it grew stronger, it was able to hibernate for a much longer time, which explains why famines ended and everything like that. That's a theory that I'm kind of going with there. Kohei does share that they still have the head of the wife, and we learn that that is Hichi. Hichi being this little shrunken head that we have seen time and time again within the series. And the reason for them bringing this head up to the mountain, it's done every 5 years or so that the Indo family can atone and beg forgiveness for the crime that they committed way back when. And in bringing this head, I don't know if the plan is that they leave it there for a while or they bring it up and then bring it back down with them. I can't really tell, but we also do have to remember that the company guy did say that this head had a lot of like spiritual power to it, essentially, and it's very powerful and it acts as a ward. So yeah, I don't know if that's something I should be looking into or thinking about right now, but it's something to keep in mind for sure anyway. And that is the sin of the Indo family, and that is why they go to the mountain and apologize with Hichi. And so that's then when we come back to Yoshiki with his father, and his father saying that Hikaru's father wanted to end everything with his generation. He didn't want this to be passed down to his son. He thought the whole thing was meaningless. He was saying that Uniki is misconstrued and misunderstood. It's not exactly what everyone thinks it is. And so it makes you wonder what he saw or what he knows, or what he knew rather, because he's no longer with us. And so he was arguing with the elders and trying to put an end to this. But then that is when he suddenly mysteriously died in an accident. And it makes you wonder, was it truly an accident, or was this planned? Was this something that the elders put together in order to take him out, because he had to continue this ritual? The Endo family had to. It wasn't really a choice. It was something that they figured that had to happen. And it also makes you then think, with Matsura and Old Man Takeda, is what they saw on the mountain that day a while ago related to why they were so against Kohei putting an end to this thing? Is that related? And then Yoshiki's father kind of says something that makes Yoshiki realize how similar they are, because his father says when Kohei died, it felt like everything that was good in the village died alongside him. And that's exactly how Yoshiki feels about Hikaru, and you see him struggling with that as he buries his head into his arms. And of course you do see the handprint always on his arm here, which tells you, you know, a story in itself. And Yoshiki himself is even thinking, I hate how similar we are, I hate how alike we are. But that's when his father says, hey, we're not similar at all. You've got your mother's softness, kindness, and strength. That's all the things that I cannot and will not ever be able to be. So you're lucky that you're stronger than me, essentially. And so hilariously, Yoshiki says, hey, you should say that to mom yourself. And he basically says he's not strong enough to, talk to her because she's so strong and he feels like he's not. So yeah, I don't know if through the context of this conversation is kind of telling us that the relationship between Yoshiki's parents kind of started to dwindle and have all these problems was around the time that Kohei passed away. And the reason I'm thinking that is because it might be telling us that once he passed, Yoshiki's father just kind of lost himself. And yeah, he's just kind of been floating. He doesn't like being home because he doesn't really know who he is. He doesn't feel welcome here. He just doesn't feel a self of self here. And that's basically why he's just always gone, why he doesn't really talk to them or anything like that. But you do kind of get the sense that he kind of wishes that wasn't the case. And then Yoshiki asks, is feeling a sense of belonging somewhere really that important? Like, can't you just get along wherever you are, whatever happens to be the case? And I feel like that's kind of the way Yoshiki's asking that is because of his sexual feelings, you know, his sexuality, where belonging is in a sense being accepted and being welcomed for who you are and in your life and everything like that. And so he's been hiding the secret of his sexuality because he doesn't know if he would be welcomed. He doesn't know if he would feel like this sense of belonging anymore. And so then that is when Yoshiki's father hits him with the whole, like, it's a really philosophical, like, moment where he's like, you know, people who are hungry always crave food. People who are starved of attention always crave attention. You know, it's very thought-provoking, and yes, it's very true. And I really love the scene because it feels like he's passing on some innate wisdom to Yoshiki. Like, this is something that he's been feeling, and so he's passing these things on to his son. And that's when he says, like, people who have this desperation for wanting to belong somewhere, they've never had somewhere they could call home. And this kind of is something that calls back to Hikaru, who says he's found a home. This fake Haru, he's found a home. And so, like, to throw that away and to cast that aside, that would be terrible. Especially after this newfound philosophy that we have just been given by our father, you know, this sense of someone who can call someone home has a sense of belonging. So yeah, this feels very profound coming from Yoshiki's father. Love how meaningful this has to be for Yoshiki to hear the words, you know, having a home and belonging, because this is when he touches his little pocket where Hikaru has given himself a part of himself. And Karu is listening in and he's like, wow, they're actually talking. And then their mother is like, he can put on a face when you kids are around. So yeah, I don't know if this is telling us that he's got some problems, like mentally, their father, like if there's just something going on in his life, or if this is all like fake, if this is him putting on an act, or what it is. But very clearly we're seeing that there are still problems between the two parents, because this is a little comment that, you know, sometimes you might not want to say in front of your children, you know. Hikaru's having a moment where he's thinking, like, all these people were offered up to me, and I guess that makes sense because of who I am and what I am and the nature of me, I guess. And then this is when he has this glimpse. It's a really, like, shocking moment where one of the heads on the shrine is switched up and it's suddenly Yoshiki's head, and it's going to show like the weird psyche of this current Hikaru, where he's having all these problems of losing control and everything. It's almost like there's a part of him that sees Yoshiki as an offering. Yoshiki starts to ask the important questions of what was Nanaki doing before all these deaths? Why did it take until now for Nanaki to do something? And so there has to have been something more. There has to have been something else that was causing this. There's more to this than just Nanaki did this, Nanaki did that. There's more to this story, and Yoshiki is the only person who's realizing this. And he also realizes that Hikaru, the thing being within Hikaru, if it's Nanaki or not, who knows, only grants requests. But it's making me realize as well, he was willing to fulfill Yoshiki's requests without asking for anything. And Hikaru as well said that in the last episode, where he was like, why would I ask for all these heads for requests? So yeah, it's making me think then, are these heads for something else entirely? Because Nanaki seemingly doesn't need heads for these requests. It will just fulfill the requests anyway, so long as that is a genuine and honest request. And as he's realizing all this, he starts to think about Hikaru leaving, and he's like, no, that can't happen. Hikaru's found a home here. This is important. He needs to stay here. This is his home. He cannot leave. And that's very great to hear, because we don't want to see that happen. That would be very, very upsetting. And this is then obviously when he knocks over a very coincidental pile of books that give us some information then as to what might be within Yoshiki, or at the very least the substance that we see within him. And this is Gehenna. Gehenna. Don't know how to pronounce that. It sounds, I have no idea what Gehenna means, but because it's got henna in its name, I'm kind of assuming it's some sort of Middle Eastern related word that might relate to something. Like the literal definition of the word might actually tell you a story, kind of like, you know, everything in this series so far with Kubitachi, Indo, just everything is related to something. And, you know, being someone who doesn't speak these languages, these are actually revealed when they are revealed to the characters, because I can't understand what these words mean, sadly. And this Gehenna is from the year 1519 this was sketched. I wonder who sketched it. I don't know if it tells us, but anyway, that's crazy, because this gives what the guy said, the company guy in the last episode, more punch, where he said in many eras, you show up in all these eras and stuff like that. So yeah, whatever this is, it was around in the 1500s as well. It wasn't just the 1700s. At least that wasn't when it first showed up. And then the next scene, the two boys are talking, and Hikaru's got a book in front of him. I wonder if this is the book that, it was like a farmer book or something, I can't remember what it was called, that Yoshiki had in his flashback, where his father asked if he wanted him to read this book to him. And within this book, we see that the princess is thinking, or sorry, it's a queen, chicken is tastier than people. And yes, but then we do learn a little later on from this book that I think it says something like the monster hesitated. So it's almost this question of, can something go against its nature? You know, if something finds something tastier, if this monster is out to eat humans, if that's its purpose, if that's what it does, like, is saying this is tastier than this going to be enough to make it stop altogether? It might make it hesitate, but yeah, it's a question then of, will it stop altogether? Will it go against its nature? Because it is in its nature to do these things, and that's what we see after this scene then with the two boys in the hallway. But before that hallway scene, we get to see Yoshiki almost in a way, not exactly, but he speaks very much from the heart, and he gives this really great speech to Hikaru about everything that he knew and loved about Hikaru, all of the things in his life, and he's also bringing up some of the things that maybe made him feel insecure in himself and everything, because he also mentions the fact that Hikaru was very much loved by the girls. Hikaru loved the girls. He liked the girl in particular before he died, and he was always upset when the girls that he thought liked him ended up with other guys. So there's a very clear sense that Hikaru, he wasn't homosexual. There's still no telling whether he was bisexual or anything like that, but from what we are being made to understand from Yoshiki here, Hikaru was probably likely a heterosexual straight male. Like, heterosexual and straight, the two don't need to be put next to each other, but you know what I mean, because there's only mention of him liking girls. But as he's saying all these things, you know, he wasn't good at school, he was great at sports, he was respected, the upperclassmen didn't like him because he didn't show them respect. All of these things are, as he describes, basically the summation of a manga main character. Yoshiki himself says he was basically the main character of a series, which is very ironic considering what we're watching today and the fact that this stemmed off of a manga. We get a little bit of information here that kind of gives a scene from an episode a while ago a little more impact. You know, Yoshiki says that Hikaru normally slept through movies when they would go watch movies, and so that kind of tells you that the reason he was watching him so weirdly in that episode Yoshiki was watching Hikaru is because it's just another sign that this isn't the real Hikaru. And so it was almost like Yoshiki in those moments was pushing himself to carry out the terrible act that he was planning to carry out. And this was another reason for why he should do that, because this isn't the real Hikaru, and this is proof of that. Because he would not be awake right now, right? He shares that Hikaru was always strong and he never stressed in the ways that Yoshiki did. And yeah, I couldn't be any more different from Hikaru, because apparently Hikaru would eat anything that was edible. Whereas I'm quite picky, especially with certain foods. One thing that I cannot stand the taste of, I know that we're coming into the season, cinnamon. I really don't like the taste of cinnamon personally. And it's really funny because my wife, she recently got something. I can't remember what it was, but it was a spread, for bread. And she was like, oh, this is great. I love it. I think you would like it. And I took a bite of it and I was like, this is just straight cinnamon. And she was like, what? No, I don't even taste cinnamon at all. I went to the packaging and apparently there was a little bit of cinnamon, not even that much, but it's all I could taste. It's just like one of those things that I really don't like. And this is beyond the point. I'm kind of going on a tangent. I apologize, especially when I said I had to not spend as much time in this episode as I would hope, but yeah, I don't know what it's like to be Hikaru is what I'm trying to say. I am quite picky, especially. And another thing that is different from Hikaru and Hikaru is that Hikaru never cried, and we have seen Hikaru cry a handful of times now at this point. Yoshiki never saw Hikaru cry, and this also extends to when his father passed. He did not cry during that, at least that Yoshiki saw anyway, and he wonders if he ever did want to cry and he was just putting on a brave face essentially. Hikaru kind of in a silly way asks if Yoshiki misses the real Hikaru, to which he responds, of course I do, to which the surprise of Hikaru kind of comes up all of a sudden, and he's like, well, yeah, that makes sense, of course you would. So it's almost like this Hikaru still sees himself as a replacement for Hikaru, whereas Yoshiki very clearly does not see that to be the case anymore. He sees the two as very separate entities. And then the hallway scene happens where Yoshiki is staring at Hikaru in absolute disbelief as Hikaru loses himself. The Gehenna stuff starts spilling out of his neck, and Yoshiki can only run away. But as he's running away, he realizes people are downstairs, and so he doesn't want to alert anyone. He doesn't want to lead it down there, so he kind of tanks it himself and he stays upstairs when he could have ran to his own safety here. And it's a very terrifying scene because there's this fear of the unknown, of like, what is going to happen? Will he draw Yoshiki in? Is he mixing with him too much? Is this going to be the end of Yoshiki? Is Yoshiki going to be turned into something else? Like, what is going to happen here? And it's made all the more terrifying when he completely envelops Yoshiki. And Yoshiki is begging, don't kill me, don't kill me. And then that's kind of almost when it cuts away, because Yoshiki is realizing this actually feels nice. Am I getting too mixed? Is it because I'm super mixed that it feels nice? And this is a character who said he wanted to die a handful of episodes ago, and now we see him wanting to live. He's crying, he's got tears in his eyes, and he's begging not to be killed here. And then we see that what Hikaru is seeing isn't really Yoshiki at all. It's his soul. It's his warm and inviting soul. Hikaru kind of snaps out of it, and he's in absolute disbelief. He's like, how could I do this? Why did I do this? This was terrible. And he just does not want to be in front of Yoshiki right now. He's very apologetic. He's very upset, and he's very saddened by the fact that he did this. But Yoshiki's kind of just like, well, nothing happened. I'm fine. Let's move on. And this is kind of probably because of everything that he's been told this episode and maybe last couple of episodes, Yoshiki, because he knows that this is not a real person. This is, the nature of this other thing's being. And so he's kind of like, well, don't worry about it. So long as I'm okay, you're okay. Don't worry about it. But Hikaru here, who is getting a sense of self and who is not the Noniki perhaps that people talk about, he starts to feel really bad and he starts to feel very apologetic and he runs off, he storms off. But before all this, we see that Asako witnessed this, which is very, very crazy, and it will hopefully not lead to anything terrible within the next episode. I'm very worried for Asako. At the end of this scene, Hikaru runs away by himself. And this is then when we get a flash to Yoshiki thinking about how even though this thing wasn't human and it didn't look human and it walks around and it looks human, this thing still should have a place in the world. There should be no reason for it to be cast aside and thrown away just because it's not Hikaru anymore. Like, he still thinks that this thing should have a place in the world and he wants to help find that place for it. We get a scene to show that Asuko's mind is not on normal everyday things. She is getting soaked while she holds an umbrella. She's not even putting it up because her mind is racing. She's thinking about all these other things. And that's then when we cut to Hikaru showing up to Rie's house, and he shows up to ask about mixing, and he wants to learn and he wants to make sure that something bad doesn't happen to Yoshiki, even though bad things are happening. He just can't understand why these things are happening, why he's losing control and everything. And Rie is very good at listening. And yeah, Hikaru is like to Rie, like, I can understand and grasp the concept of the importance of a soul, but I cannot understand the importance of a human life. These lives are nothing to me. You just simply change shape when you die. And yeah, it's a very interesting way of looking at things, but at the same time, like, everything he's experienced up until now should kind of tell him why human life is important, and also why people value human life. Because once someone's gone, you can no longer make memories with that person. They are gone. And as Hikaru is kind of like stressing about all these things and bearing all of these questions out to Rie and sharing all of this information, you know, about like the value of life and how he views it, Rie is simply thinking like, I need to be careful here, because if I make one wrong step, this could really damage a lot of things. This could be very harmful. And so he just straight up asks, if I return to the mountain, would everything go back to normal? Would people be okay? Would all these weird things stop happening? And Rie is stunned by this, because it's a question of self-awareness, which probably was surprising to her. And she's very honest, and she says, well, if you were to do that, that wouldn't get to the heart of the problem. The heart of the problem is whatever's going on with the attraction of all these things with Nanaki or Hikaru, and simply returning to the mountain would just keep things there. It wouldn't fix things. Things would still leak out. Things would still get through. Hikaru then slams his head against the desk and says, well, I'm a monster, so it's no big deal. And yeah, it's very, very sad, because you can tell he's very upset here. He kind of does the peace sign thing, which we saw Yoshiki thinking about, where he was thinking about if Hikaru was to leave and he was like, I don't want that. And we see that scene kind of play out here with Rie, but this time you can see that Hikaru knows he doesn't want to leave. He's got a home, he's got a sense of importance here, and he doesn't want to leave it behind. And he's willing to do so, though, for the good of everyone. And he's even saying he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to be alone. And this is then when Rie thinks, well, I could reach across here and pull this thing out of him because it's weakened. But if she was to do that, Hikaru would go to actually being dead. And I don't know if this is why she doesn't do it, but the way she says it is that this thing has only been alive for like a year and she can't do it. And so she doesn't take this thing out of Hikaru, and Hikaru simply leaves, I guess. And this is when she seemingly has a conversation with her dead son or something like that. It's very curious as to what happened here, but she is thinking a lot of things. And she's like, I know that terrible things could happen because I didn't do this right in this moment, but Hikaru probably has a family waiting for him when he returns back home, and she can't in good conscience take that away from his family. And yeah, then this is when we do get the scene at the end of the episode where Hikaru does return back to his home and his mother welcomes him in. And yeah, it's very touching, and it means a lot because it shows that people care about him. He does have this family that Rie was thinking about here. But before all this, someone comes to Rie's door, and it's a woman in a suit. So a company woman. Who knows who she is, who knows what her deal is, but we're going to learn something next episode, I hope. So yeah, I think that it was a beautiful way to end the episode with his conversation with his mother welcoming him home. It's exactly what Hikaru needed in this moment. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. I do need to leave right now. I apologize, but I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Comment down below letting me know your favorite Halloween related piece of media. And yeah, I will be back with the next episode very soon, and I will do my best to make sure it's nowhere near as short as this one. I will be doing my absolute best to make that as great as it can be for the final episode of this series. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for me. If you guys do enjoy this, please hit the bell and you will be notified when videos like this one go live, and share this with someone who you think might enjoy reaction content to the Summer Hikaru Died. I hope that you guys are having a great day today and that you're able to take it easy. I will see you in the next one. Take care.